Hey now, today we're going to take a look at Eggs and Empires from Griffin Games, or actually I think they're Eagle Griffin Games, or Griffin Eagle Games, or one of those combination of words. This is a card game. Essentially, I think you would classify this as a trick-taking game. Very simple. You are trying to thematically collect dragon eggs. You have like a team of adventurers. Everyone has the same team of adventurers represented by 10 cards. You're sending them out to try and get these eggs that are worth points from the center of the table and have the most points at the end of the game. And it's played over 3 rounds, so you'll tally up your points at the end of each one, and that's basically it. It's very simple, except that every adventurer has a different power, which adds some bit of strategy and planning to the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it's played, then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Alright, I'm going to give you a quick run through of Eggs and Empires. This is a competitive game for 2 to 6 players. The goal is to have the most points by the end of 3 rounds in play. Now, points in this game are tracked via egg cards. Egg cards are, I guess, you're like thematically, you're like warriors and adventurers who are going out and trying to get these magical, I don't know, dragon eggs, something or other, and those are going to count as points. And you'll add up your points that are in your score pile at the end of each round, carry that over from round to round. Whoever has the most points at the end of 3 rounds is going to be the winner. Now, if they have special rules for either pubs or cons, if you don't have a pen and paper to keep, or you just don't want to keep track of your points with a pen and paper, you can instead use these little egg tokens here to keep track of who wins each round. Whoever has won the most rounds at the end of 3, essentially a best of 3 by keeping track with these tokens, is going to be the winner, or else you just keep going until someone has a clear majority. It's something like that, but that's not how the normal game works, so we'll just consider that you're doing normal scoring here. The other thing you have is this tie-breaking egg token. You can kind of decide how you want this to pass around. If you just wanted to pass around from person to person clockwise each turn, or at the start of every round, give it to the person who has the fewest victory points. But essentially, this is a tiebreaker. If there's ever a discrepancy as to who should be able to choose an egg first, which I'll get back to in a second, then the tie is broken, starting with the person who has this token, and then clockwise from them. Now, as far as setup, every player has the same deck of 10 cards with the exact same cards numbered from 1 to 10 in the deck. So there's no secrets. Everyone knows the exact capabilities. But at the start of the game, you're going to shuffle those 10 cards up, draw 3, and that's the hand that you have to work with. And I'll get back to what they actually are in a second. I just want to give you the general gist of gameplay. So you're going to have your hand of 3 cards and your other 7 just sitting there. At the start of the round, at the start of the game, each player is going to put down 1 card from the 3 cards that they have in hand. And then once everyone is chosen, they're going to simultaneously flip the card over. And whoever has the highest card amongst everyone who has played cards, and remember you have the tiebreaker token in case that's a problem, then whoever has the highest card is, unless barring any special abilities, is going to be able to choose one of the eggs from the lineup first. And as you can see, this is a setup for 6 players, but there's only 4 eggs. So you're never going to have as many eggs as there are people to actually want the eggs, but every egg must be chosen, which can be bad because some of the eggs, these red ones here, are exploding eggs, which are worth negative points. The point spread is somewhere between, for the positive eggs, like 3 to 14, and for the negative eggs, I think it's like 3 to negative 9. Maybe it's even more than that. But whenever you are taking an egg, either willingly or because you're forced to, you put it face down into your scoring pile. It remains secret until the end of the round. And you're going to keep doing this once all the eggs are taken in a round. Then you recharge. The card that you used goes into your own personal discard pile. And, wow, I did not plan that, but that just ended up as 3, 4, 5, 6. The card that you use goes into your own personal discard pile. You'll draw back up so that you have 3 cards in hand to choose from, and you continue. This continues until you get to the last turn of the game. You're only going to have 2 cards in hand to choose from. So 1 card is, you're only going to go through 9 turns in a round. So 1 card will not be used from your 10. You'll play that last card, take however many eggs you have coming to you, and then that will be the end of the round. You add up your points, then you continue it, and you do it 2 more times. Now let's look at the 10 cards and what they do. Actually, we'll start from 10 and work our way down. So, actually, that's not the 10. Here's the 10. Sorry, that's what I used for the example. So the 10 is just very simply the strongest card in the game, and it has no special ability. You play the 10, you're going to get a card. You want to use this strategically, though, because, again, you only have one of every card from 1 to 10, and you want to make sure that you get a really high point egg with that, hopefully. And remember, multiple players could play it at the same time, in which case ties, the tiebreaker token will really matter. The Dark Priestess is the second highest card. However, if more than one player plays a Dark Priestess at the same time, they cancel each other out and nobody gets anything. Which could be good if you don't want negative eggs, actually. The Blacksmith. The Blacksmith is really powerful as well, but if he doesn't end up collecting an egg card for whatever reason, he gets -4 victory points at round end. The Mage. The Mage does not collect face-up exploding egg cards. He can instead take a face-down card from the top of the deck, but if it's an exploding egg, he still has to keep it. He doesn't have to show anyone his shame. The Priest. If the Priest did not collect an egg card, you get to discard an egg card from your collected egg cards, which means get rid of those exploding ones. The Merchant. If the Merchant didn't collect an egg card, you receive 6 victory points at the end of the round. You actually take the Merchant card and put him into your scoring pile with the other egg cards if that happens to you. That would actually be the same thing for the Blacksmith, by the way. If you get the -4 points, you put him into your scoring pile. The Courier. If Courier did collect an egg card, you may give that egg card to any other player, which is good if it's a exploding egg card. The Shepherd always collects egg cards prior to the Blacksmith, which essentially means that the number 3 card beats the 8 card. The Scout. After egg cards have been collected, the Scout gets to look at the top card of the egg deck and then places it face down in the play area, which essentially puts another egg out there into play for possible taking from the players, but only you know what it is. And finally, the Bard. The Bard has no ability and is the weakest card, as they should be. But that's good because you probably want to play that if there's a lineup full of rotten eggs and make the other players try to take them first, unless they all had the same idea as you. The last thing I want to take a look at, remember every deck is the exact same cards. The last thing I want to take a look at, there's like a little mini expansion. I'm not sure if every set's going to have this, but it adds 2 different types of egg cards. One of them, and forgive me, I don't remember the proper names, but these eggs, essentially the more of them you take, the better they are. So if you only have one of these particular egg cards, it's worth 3 points. But if you have 2 of them, they're 5 points. 3 of them, they're 7 points. And 4 or more of them are 10 points each, by the way. So those are really powerful. And these, I think, are called triumvirate eggs. There's 3 of them. If you only take 1 of them, it's -3 victory points. If you take 2 of them, then they're worth 3 victory points. And if you have 3 of them, they're worth 6 victory points. Or I guess I should say that you just get more points for having the 3 of them. So that is essentially Eggs and Empires. Just a very simple game of essentially kind of a trick-taking game, I guess, of placing down cards, trying to take the good egg cards from the center, sometimes being forced to take the bad ones, but just hoping that you come out on top at the end and use your special ability cards wisely to have the most points. Now, let's get to my final thoughts. These types of light filler card games are really right up my alley. I enjoyed Eggs and Empires quite a bit. It's very simple, but it has just enough of an edge to it, which is because of the fact that you have the exploding dragon eggs. The -point eggs are really what make things interesting because there's not enough eggs to go around, no matter what number of players that you have in the game, except that in some instances, there's going to be people who are clamoring to not take eggs. They don't want them. But you have to make sure in that instance that you're either... it's very rare that you're going to have all negative exploding eggs out in the center of the table. There's usually going to be at least one positive one, so then that's where the interesting decision-making comes in. Do you go all out, hoping that you get a high enough card to be able to choose first, and therefore take the 1 or 2 positive eggs that are out there, but knowing that if you screw up, that if someone else, let's say that you're doing the priestesses, and therefore you thought you had a really high card, but then someone cancels out, or you're tying with someone else and you don't have the tiebreaker, then you're going to get stuck with one of those bad eggs. So maybe you just don't go for them at all. You play your Bard card and hope that you don't get anything. Everyone else didn't have the exact same idea. That's where the interesting decision-making comes in this game. And it's not overly complicated by any stretch of the imagination. This is a very simple game. You'll have it taught and up and running in 5 minutes. I think that the little expansion egg cards, and I'm sorry, I have to clarify, I don't know if these come with the base game or they're a little extra add-on that my copy just happened to have from the Kickstarter or something like that. But I think those are fun. I think you should probably play with those because it just adds a little extra complexity to the game, which it probably needs. I mean, some people are going to be turned off by just how simple this game is. But for me, it just worked very well, and I think with those extra cards, that it's going to add just enough to give it a little more variety. I always like the mechanic of having more of something makes them worth more points, because now it's like, oh, do I go hunting for this card? It makes situations like the one I described even more tantalizing. Wow, there's 4 eggs out there, let's say, for a 6-player game, and 2 of them are really bad, and one of the 2 good ones is one of these cards that gives me more points the more of them I have. Do I go for it? That's the interesting part about this game. And by the way, the artwork is beautiful. Really, really love the artwork. When I first saw this on Kickstarter, I didn't actually back it myself on Kickstarter, but when I first saw it on Kickstarter, it had really great artwork. That's what attracted me to it. Then I saw it was just a really simple game, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But now that I've had a chance to try it, thematically, it doesn't really make any sense. This could be rethemed into anything. I know that people hate it when I use the phrase paste it on theme, but that's really what's happening here. But hey, if you're going to have a simple card game, why not have fantastic artwork? It helps it along quite a bit. We saw this with other card games that were on Kickstarter, like Dragon's Horde, that just look fantastic, and this one keeps up that tradition. So I think this is a solid game. It's going to be really good for families. It's going to be really good for people who are not, let's say, gamerly gamers who are going to play something really heavy and meaty. This one is light, it's fun, it's fast. You could probably even play this. You don't have to play the full 3 rounds. Just play 1 or 2 rounds. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. You still get the same feel for the game, and I think it's a solid one. If you play it over 3 rounds, you might be looking at like maybe 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more for your first game. But even just 1 round is 10 to 15 minutes, no problem, and that's really great. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this, and it's you know, it's probably going to stay in my collection for a little bit because I have a lot of card games like this, but I enjoy them and I enjoy collecting them. So hey, just like the theme of the game, collecting eggs. I'm collecting cards. Yeah, whatever. So that's Eggs and Empires from Eagle Griffin, Griffin Eagle Games.